All right, so it's 5 after, so we might as well get started, and Valerie will be monitoring the waiting room. So once again, thanks everybody so much for coming out this afternoon. To understand a little bit more of what I'm talking about is tragically competent. What does that mean? And how does that affect you and your work life? So once again, our topic today: have you become tragically competent? Escape your rut and create effective work. Brought to you by Think Smith, myself, Robert. And before we get into the content, just a little bit about me. So I'm Robert Smith. I'm not the lead singer of The Cure, clearly by the hair. I've been in this industry, the creative industry, for 30 years. I've worked as an in-house designer. I founded 2 successful agencies. I've taught design, marketing, and advertising at Algonquin College for over 10 years. I've published a book, and I've got 2 more coming out, so keep your eye out in 2021. I've received well over 100 design awards, both internationally, nationally, and locally. And I'm also a co-founder of the Registered Graphic Designers, the RGD, here in Canada. Basically, in a nutshell, I've been in the industry for 30 years, and I can honestly say that I'm still inspired, driven, and energized. And ultimately, I want you to experience the same. So this presentation that we're going to be going through, it's for you if you're a designer, a writer, content creator, photographer, videos, anybody who's in the creative communications industry. And you're experiencing a loss of passion, you're struggling with creativity and timelines, presentations, approvals, or maybe all of the above. I'm sure we all experience all of those at some point in our career. So today what we're going to be covering is we're going to cover what does competent really mean, all right? How or when competent becomes tragic, how to recognize and assess these problems, and then how to plan for success moving forward. We'll follow that with a short Q&A at the end. So again, I'm going to remind you, please enter your questions in the chat, and Valerie will be monitoring that. All right, so tragically competent. Well, let's break it down and let's look at the components here. So the first thing is competent. And I think most of us are thinking, well, okay, isn't competent a good thing? And that might be a bit confusing right now. And it is a good thing, but based on our experience through the school system, elementary school, high school, we're rewarded for being competent, right? And that's a goal. That's what we're taught. We need to be competent. And when in reality, when we look at the definition of the word competent, well, it's an adjective, it describes something, but it is adequate but not exceptional. And if we're looking at the law, it's meeting certain minimum requirements. So when we look at that definition of competent, does that really describe where you want to be as far as your job goes, where you want to be as far as your career goes? Do you want to be competent? Do you want to be adequate but not exceptional? Do you want to be? Do you want to meet the minimum requirements? I don't know about you, but I certainly do not. Based on that definition, computers are competent, right? They are a device that gives you information, no more, no less. They meet a minimum requirement. Factories are competent. Factories produce predictable, consistent output every day, right? So they're competent. Okay, and if we're going with that, zombies are competent, all right? Really, they are. They possess the basic requirements of life. They walk around looking for food, find food, and then keep walking around looking for food. So, zombies are competent too. So, are you a computer? Do you work in a factory? Are you a zombie? I'm assuming at this point you have answered no to all the above, so we can move on. Now, where does tragically come in? Why am I using the word tragically, and why is it tragically competent? We work in a creative industry. And so being simply competent is tragic. Okay. And why is that? Opportunity. Duh. Okay. Now I apologize. Like super cheesy photo. I get it. All right. But this proves the point, or doesn't prove it, demonstrates the point. It demonstrates the point that there's so much out there. We work in an industry that offers so much opportunity, so much potential, so many avenues that in my mind, there's no reason to be competent when you've got this opportunity to do so many different things. We can communicate and we can do all of these very interesting things within our industry, which is you don't, who gets to do that really? So at the end of the day, we have a rare opportunity to engage, educate, inspire, and help an audience. All right? We interact with people. We inform them, we inspire them, we communicate to them. Who else gets to do that? So don't take it lightly. If you are taking it lightly, then it's just a job. And really, that would be a shame. And I assume that you're here because you care, but you felt maybe a loss of passion, or you feel stuck, or you're in a rut, or some say, I'm in a funk. All right. So when does competent become tragic? It happens, and now in this case, now I'm using examples from our industry. So whether you're a writer, content creator, designer, photographer, some of these things, or maybe all of these things, are going to resonate to you. These are inner dialogues that we have. Okay? And so in our heads, we become tragically competent when we feel that the work is good enough. It's fine, meh, whatever. You don't want to present anything, too crazy or out there. You might be working in an in-house department in the government or whatever, and you're in air quotes, the creative end, and people are like, okay, the great person over there doing whatever they do their thing. And so when you go to present stuff, it's not, okay, you're going to show something crazy. It will easily be approved by the committee, board, or my boss, right? And this is a problem. Again, that's path of least resistance. You've given up if you're just going to, I'm just going to dial it in here. I'm just going to make something that I know is going to go through approvals quickly. You feel the audience is not sophisticated enough. I need to dumb it down. They may not like it. And when I say they here, I'm talking about your boss, your committee, or the people your client, people you're presenting your ideas to. We have this inner dialogue that's like, well, what if they don't like it? I don't know if they're going to like it or not. Well, that's not a factor, okay? Whether they like it or not. Like is not the issue here. It's whether or not it's effective, whether or not it is addressing the audience. And we'll be talking about that a little bit later on. I don't have enough time. Oh my God. How many times have you said that, last week? Today. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time. So we'll address that as well. I can't think of any good ideas. Okay. I'm going to call bullshit on this because there are so many ways where you can have good ideas that you can build on what you have in front of you. This is not fine art. Okay. It's not where you're waiting for the muse to show up or I need to be inspired. No, we're in communications here. So all the evidence is there. Our job is to take that evidence and create something that is consumable to an audience, whether it's writing or visual. Right? So how many of these can you relate to? All of them? Maybe? Be honest. Think about it. How many of those have you thought in your head? So what do all of these things have in common? These statements are unified by one thing, fear. Okay? They're entrenched in emotion. So what's the fear based on? Why are we afraid? Well, it's the fear of failure, the fear of judgment, the fear of rejection. All right. And this is what fuels all of these feelings. Like I don't have time. That's the fear of judgment or failure. I don't have any good ideas. That's rejection, judgment, and failure altogether. Right. So a lot of these statements, there's a lot of emotion, and it's hard. So what we need to do is to debunk these fears. And we need to understand that these fears are self-imposed barriers. Okay? They're projections. They're not based on fact. They live in the future. All right. So first thing we need to do to debunk these fears is, okay, a little bit of tough love here. I'm assuming you're sitting down. If you're not, sit down. This might be a little hard to take. All right. I'm very sorry to say, but you're not psychic. I know. I'm not psychic. You're not psychic. We're all not psychic here. You can't see into the future. You can't be certain that it's not going to get accepted. You can't be certain that they aren't going to approve it. You can't be certain of any of those things. In this life, the only thing that you can be certain of or be in control of is yourself. You control your emotions. You control your work. You control what you're doing. You can't control other people's reactions. Okay, so you have no idea. So you're not psychic. All right, so put that aside, we're good. So let's debunk the fear. What I want to do here is I want to take some of these statements and I'm going to break them down and we're going to dispel them. We're going to make them a reality as far as this is not real. It's fake news. They're not based on fact. So the first statement, I don't want to present anything out there or too crazy. Right? So this is based on assumptions, and it's your assumptions. There's absolutely no fact here. Okay, I don't want to present anything too out there. Well, what's your definition of out there? What's your definition of crazy? Well, mine is very different than yours, and very different from Val's and from anybody else. Right? So, not based on fact. And again, you're not psychic. Maybe there's a precedent here. Maybe you presented something in the past that was seen as a little crazy or a little out there, and you're a little gun shy now. You don't want to, like, you've been in that position before, and you don't want to get into that position again. So that is a statement that's in the past. And again, not reality, not based on fact. It's fact that it happens, but it's not a fact that that will happen again. So you got to get rid of that. Also, the good thing about crazing out there is they are the foundation of greatness. That's where the good stuff comes. That's where the great ideas come. That's where the engagement hits. It's when people have that wow, that interest. And let's face it, we're in communications. You need to get attention. It's busy out there. There's all kinds of messages out there. So being tragically competent is lost. It's part of the noise. So don't be afraid of too crazy or out there. And I'll demonstrate that in the chart a little bit later. So, example. Most of us are familiar with this ad. Some of us who are not. This is an Apple ad when they launched the Mac. And this is a crazy idea. This is super out there. This is out there beyond anything you probably could have imagined, because here's an ad that costs millions of dollars. It was directed by Ridley Scott, who directed Alien, Blade Runner, Gladiator. All right. This ad was shown once. This ad had no product in it. This ad only had the logo and a date, and it was shown once at the Super Bowl, and that was it. So everything that this ad is goes against everything that we're taught about advertising. You know, we're talking about frequency. This has to be everywhere. We're going to leverage this as much as possible. It was shown once, right? But now it's become this case study that people in advertising and in design are taught. It's an example of crazy. It's an example of out there that was super effective. So if you can imagine trying to present this concept to the client, right? Now, okay, this is huge, right? Big budget, big agency, big client. et cetera, et cetera. So let's look at something a little more somewhat down to earth. So friend of mine, Farm Boy, we're launching a new store, and they asked me to do a flyer. So to the left, you see flyers. So this was their expectation. We're going to do a flyer. We're going to announce it to the neighborhood. It's going to go to the newspaper, and it's going to give the address and get people to come out to the store for the grand opening. Forgetting the fact that you have one chance. You only open your store once. That's your big splash. That's your big opportunity. Lots of eyes on it. So why would we default to a common thing that everybody's used to, that is the flyer? We've got lots of time to give them flyers once they're used to the store and going into their regular patterns and that, but let's use this opportunity. So my crazy idea, my out there idea was, well, yeah, let's do a flyer, but let's make it a paper bag. Let's have recipes on the gussets. Let's have coupons on the bag. Let's explain what the heck a fresh market is. Let's introduce Farm Boy and the whole psychology and the idea of what Farm Boy is in this flyer. So this bag, and they went for it, right? So this bag was inserted into the Citizen as part of the launch to get people interested in the store. And it was crazy. The reaction was over the top. It was amazing. And again, not what they were expecting. Took a bit of a risk with the presentation, but the results are there. So if we look at this pragmatically, if we look at this as a chart, so we get pitched by the client, we get a project, okay? And that's in the middle there. And the line represents engagement and degrees of engagement. From zero engagement to the left to high engagement to the right. Now, if we break that down, we've got the client comfort zone, which is the familiar, and then we've got the non-familiar zone, or degrees of not familiar, on the right-hand side in green. So to the left in the red area, we've got the client zone, and that's what they're expecting. That's where they want to be because it's familiar. It's comfortable to them. Creative process is not comfortable to most of them because it's not accounting, it's not an Excel spreadsheet, it's not what they're used to. So they like to have something that's familiar to make them feel comfortable. But we all know that comfort means that the engagement is going to be next to nothing. And that's our tragically competent zone. Then we've got our engagement zone, which is a little more interesting. So we also know that when we present concepts to a client, they are going to dial us back a bit. And that happens regularly. And again, reason being, it's a situation where they come from a position of power. They're a manager, they're a VP, whatever. So they're in a position of authority and power. So they're going to want to inject some of that into the process. They're going to want to make some decisions. So they usually bring us back and we make some concessions. We give them some wins. So this represents that situation. So we have my pointer here. So we have our presentation, and then our client will bring us back, right, through feedback and revisions. So when we present in the middle here, and we work with the client, they're going to take us automatically into the tragically competent zone, and we're going to be in this area of expensive noise. Basically, it's not getting noticed. But if we present a concept in this area and we go through the same process where we go through feedback and revisions and they have some wins and they have some input and it's collaborative, they're going to take us back like they usually do, but we're going to be in the engagement zone. We're going to be in the sweet spot for what we're doing. We're going to get eyes on the piece, the writing of the photograph or whatever. We're going to get the engagement that we need and that the client needs. So there's this great documentary back in the day called This Is Spinal Tap, about a heavy metal band. And the guitarist, seen here, it's a fiction, but anyways, the guitarist here had an amp that he described as going to 11. And all other amps go to 10, but he's had this one specially made to go to 11. And the interviewer says, well, why didn't you just make 10 louder? And he said, well, because mine goes to 11. So that's what we're looking at. So I don't want to present anything out there or too crazy. Tips, don't make assumptions. Okay, you may think that, and you're assuming that your clients will think that. Don't make assumptions. Okay, I was going to actually make this bullet point, don't be an ass, because, you know, assuming makes an ass out of you and me. So, but anyways, don't make assumptions. Don't live in the past. Okay, this is a new scenario. This is a new situation. And be brave. Go to 11. Bring it. That's what you're there for. I just need something that will be easily approved by the committee, board, or my boss, right? So again, path of least resistance. You've given up at this point. This is pure apathy. It's like, whatever, I'm just dialing it in, right? So if we look at that, I just want it approved by the committee, the board, or my boss. So essentially what you're saying here is they're my audience. And you know, 80% plus times the people you're presenting your concept to are not the audience. So you've got to make that, that assumption, but you've got to make that clear to both yourself and who you're presenting to. So if, you know, well, we've identified the target audience as being females 35 to 45, then when you introduce what you're presenting, when you start working on it yourself and remind yourself of that, then you know who your audience is. And you can take that emotion, and you take those words out that I really hate in meetings, which is I don't like. And so many times it's a person who is clearly not in the demographic, but they're saying, I don't like this. So we need to take that stuff out of the equation when we're presenting. It needs to be fact-based. It needs to be based on data. It needs to be non-emotional so that you can then bring everybody in, because you can't argue with fact. You can't argue with numbers. So when you say, here's this piece, the audience is, as we've addressed, and this is something everybody has agreed upon, demographic is females 35 to 45, then present your work, it's in context. And when someone says, I don't like it, then you can remind them, that's fine, you're not in the demographic, right? So it just adds dialogue, it adds reality. Also remember that they gave you this job because they can't do it. You're there for a reason. They've empowered you. Your client is giving you this work because they can't do it. Your boss has handed it down, or this board or committee has said, we need you to do this job for us because we can't do it. It might be time, it might be ability, but no matter what it is, you've been empowered, and they were the ones that empowered you. Don't treat this, and so much of us when we're doing this, presenting our ideas and that, is we go back to think that they're doing us a favor by allowing us to present, and it's all, okay, well, I hope they like it, and I hope. No, bullshit, okay? You're there for a reason. So really present to that end. Also remember, easily approved means easily forgotten. You are clearly entrenched in the red zone. You are in familiar territory for everybody. So you really need to assess based on that. So here's our tips. Remind them and yourself who the audience is. Also hit them where it hurts. Budget. So if you work in a government department or if you work in corporate, the currency there is time. Okay, so you won't necessarily be working with a budget in the sense of the public sector. You're working with timelines. People need stuff, and they've identified timelines in that. So you always hit them with that and say, all right, and in the public sector, it's money, right? So, okay, well, we've got to change this because we did agree on the strategy, and I presented on the strategy, and you haven't approved it, and then we've got to go back and redo things. So that's going to cost more money. So whenever you bring that up, it's going to cost more money or it's going to take more time. That really is the test of how important is that feedback that they're giving you. One of the issues we always come to in this industry is that, again, it's not It's not accounting, so it's not a collaborative thing. Like, well, what if we just move those numbers over there? But what if we just change this to a positive instead of a negative? Like, it doesn't work that way, right? So why does it work in our case as well? So if you bring up time and budget as being a barrier to getting them to make these, for you to make the changes that they're requesting, that really is a test to say, how important is this? If it's really important, they'll say, yeah, you know what? We're okay spending the money. We're okay adding some timeline on this because it is that important. Fair enough. Go back and reassess and build again. And be brave. Remember, you're the expert here. And here's an example. This is an ad for Bloomingdale's that went through a committee, that went through a boss, and it went through all these people. Spike your friend's eggnog when they're not looking. Really? And this is a recent ad. This was about 5 years ago. Okay, so I don't have enough time. Constantly, we're saying this to ourselves. We're convincing ourselves of this. And this is, again, I'm calling bullshit on this. You need to consider a few things. The first thing is, did you ask for more time? Okay. We know how long something will take because we're the ones doing it. And we've done it enough times that we know that I can't come up with a headline in an hour. And if I do, it's not going to be that great. I can't come up with that. I can't design an ad in a day. I need 2 days. We know all of the variables, whereas the person imposing the deadline, and again, deadlines are usually imposed by the external force, by the boss, by the client. Yeah, I need it for Thursday. Okay, so have you spoken to them about this? Have you discussed that? Well, okay, you've asked for it in this amount of time. That's not possible. I can't get that all done in this time frame. But don't be that negative person in the meeting. Offer solutions to say, okay, that deadline is really important. Here's what I can do in this timeline. But if you want all of these things, I'm going to need an extra week. Right? It's a conversation. It's collaborative. They have a choice then. It's not you saying, oh, there's no way I can do this in time. Period. Done. Right? Give them some choice. Give them some options. It's very easy to do, and it'll really work things out. Also assess this thing that you don't have enough time for. Is it a priority? Thing is, most of us are very proud about what we do. And we put a lot of time and a lot of effort in what we do. And more times than not, we're putting that equal level of effort into something that is like a small line at the bottom of the website to the website design itself, right? Like, we worry about the details and we worry about, and we look, so we do this, and that eats up a lot of time. So you do need to sit back if you're thinking, oh, I don't have enough time for this. Sit back and say, okay, is this a social media post that's going to be relevant for an hour and I've got the template already? Well, yeah, you've got enough time for that. That's 10, 15 minutes. You've got time for that. But if you're saying, I don't have enough time for this, you're thinking that you've got to design this thing from scratch and that it's got to be killer and award-winning and really that piece doesn't need it. However, if you're saying, I don't have enough time for this, and it is a priority piece, and it is something that's going to have a huge amount of eyes and a long shelf life, then it is a priority. Then you need to do one of two things: either ask for more time or build a small team to get it done, right? Not just you. Delegate the work out, get the stuff that you're not so good at to other people, and execute. Also, this is a good place for the quick, cheap, and good theory of communications and clients. I've got a chart for that in a moment. So the tips for I don't have enough time. Communicate. For God's sakes, talk to people. That's what we're in the industry for. It's so funny. Hit them where it hurts. Again, budget and time. Be brave. Ask for more time. But we're all familiar with this. And it's existed since the beginning when this industry first started, and it hasn't changed at all. The reason it hasn't changed is because it's true. This is exactly how we need to talk to our clients, because every client wants good, cheap, and fast. And that simply does not exist. So if the client wants something good but don't want to spend the money on it, then it's going to take a while to get it done, because you'll fit it in when you can. But if they need something that's good and fast, it's going to be expensive, because you've got to put other work to the side and focus all of your time and efforts on this piece. And if they want it cheap and fast, well, that's tragically competent. Now, we can take the word tragically out of this and just say it's simply competent, because there's work out there that can be cheap and fast. And that's those, okay, we just got to do 6 social media posts. Here's the template. Here's the words. That's execution, right? So cheap and fast is execution in a lot of cases, and there's a place for it. But again, it's going to be based on certain things already done. But the main thing is, when somebody is looking for cheap and fast, as far as branding, or a good blog post, or a great engaging photo for an ad, cheap and fast can't exist, simply because there is no time for strategy. There is no time for research. There's no time for educating yourself on what this is going to be. All you have time for is execution. I can't think of any good ideas. Again, we've said this before. We're not waiting for the muse. We're not waiting for inspiration. We're in communications here. We're communicating a client's or project's attributes to an audience. So the evidence is all there. We don't have to wait for inspiration. We don't have to wait for the muse, because the stuff is there, right? So, bottom line, sitting in front of the computer is not going to help. Tips, walk it off. Movement and change of space are powerful things. If you sit there and you keep thinking, I can't think of any good ideas, you're going to snowball. You're going to get more frustrated, and it's going to get harder to come up with ideas. It's never going to solve itself in that situation. So you've got to get self-aware and get to a point where you say, hey, you know what? This is not working. I need to move on to something else. So stand up, change your space, take a walk, get your blood going. Your brain needs blood. So get out and get moving, do something. Next tip is step away from the computer and write your ideas down. The computer is not going to give you ideas. The computer is not going to give you the concept. And unfortunately, we live in a society, and a lot of our clients might be this way, where they say, well, you know, don't you just go to the computer? Like, they think there's a button or something, you know, the concept button in Illustrator. Let me just open up Photoshop here, and I will open up the concept button, and I'll just push a button, and the concept's there. It doesn't work like that. We all know that, but there's that assumption. We live on a on-demand society, and ideas just aren't on demand a lot of times. So step away from the computer, write down your ideas, get away from the distraction, write down your ideas, use words, write them down. Then when you go back to the computer, you have a nice list of words that are now search criteria for imagery, for words, for examples. So you're not going to go down that rabbit hole that is the internet. Next, change your mind. This is my go-to, okay? We all have admin tasks. We all have non-creative things that we need to do, processing images, checking for grammar, looking at the word count. All of these are very much left-brained activities. And we all know as well that coming with concepts and being heavy on our right side, on the creative side, is exhausting. You know, it takes energy. So if you're getting to that point where you're getting frustrated, or it's really heavy, then jump onto a non-creative task. Pick up something admin to do some accounting, do some bookkeeping, check out some of the analytics on a website, or like do some of the things that you need to do anyways that are non-creatively taxing, and it'll help a great deal. And like I said, that's my go-to. It's really helpful. And the other thing is do the work, okay? Research, read the brief. The answers are there. You never, ever, ever start with a blank screen or a blank piece of paper. There's too much evidence. There's too much facts. There's too many things that you need to base your work on to start from scratch. It's there. Now, this is maybe what your desk looks like these days. We're all working from home. right? Cat's there, and damn it, there's some laundry I got to do, and breakfast is still there on the table, and I've got tea from yesterday, and I have no idea what's on the right hand side there in that cup. And let's just say it's incense. I don't know. And there's a computer, and there's a phone, and there's not like there's absolutely no way you're going to come up with an idea here. There's no way you're going to plan out your campaign or your image or your blog. There's too much going on here. It's stressful, and you might be thinking, well, I've got a clean desk. It's very zen. I've got these plants, and I've got this, it's all nice and white and it's clean. Okay, this is not what I mean by a clean desk. This is not a clean desk. This is a tidy desk, not clean. There's a phone. There's a computer. There are irrelevant items there. Well, holy shit, there's an hourglass. How stressful is that? That's time saying you're running out of time. And in this case, you are out of time, clearly, right? So this doesn't work either. And I don't know why in society where we are trained to, if we are working, and that includes being creative, we sit in front of a computer. Even schools are like that. Okay, kids, come on in. We're going to talk about design, and you sit down, and there's a big ass computer in front of you, and no thinking space. So that's what we're devoid of here. There's no thinking space, and again, that's a crime. This is a clean desk. No distraction. Well, unless the plants start talking to you, and then maybe lack of creativity is not your most pressing issue, but this is the space where you can think. And I'll use an example. Those of you out there who know Neil Gaiman, he's responsible for American Gods and Good Omens, Coraline, Sandman, well-published, respected author. He goes to a space he actually goes to a physical space where there is nothing but a desk. He needs to get bored. He needs to be in a space where it's boring because he has no choice but to be creative and make that space interesting and start writing. And by the way, it is next to impossible to find a clean desk in stock photography. Okay, everything has a damn computer or a phone or other stuff in it. I had to create this one. I had to Photoshop out a phone and some other shit because I spent too long looking for a clean desk. Apparently that doesn't exist. Make one. All right, so one or all of these things that we've been talking about are going to create apathy. Again, you're going to turtle. You're just like, I don't get whatever. I just want to get shit done and get people off my back. So how do we fix this? First, you need to recognize that your work has become tragically competent. There isn't a problem until you recognize that there is a problem. Self-awareness is huge. So you really need to sit back and say, okay, am I delivering work that is tragically competent? Am I in a rut? So, like I said, self-awareness is the key. Objectively assess your work. Objectively. Well, I like that project. Now, I don't care if you like that project or not. Was it successful? Did it do what it needed to do? That's key. Look at the numbers, okay? Data, analytics, sales, engagement. We live in this wonderful time in history where the numbers are there. Very little effort, and we can get the analytics of or the engagement of a campaign or things like that. Evidence is there. Okay, review feedback. Boy, people really don't have problems giving you feedback these days. All right, and give it time. That's a key thing as well. Don't assess the quality or success of a campaign or a piece that you've written right after it's done. Okay, because it's still going to be drenched in emotion. Oh my God, the client was such a jerk. And then my cat threw up beside me, and it was raining outside, and I've got to go outside and get the mail, and I'm going to get wet. Okay, it's going to be all that shit. So give it a week, then go back. And all of that emotion is out. So right at the bottom there, hint, none of these are emotional. Okay, you've got to get non-emotional in this. So how do you get self-aware? Take a moment. Again, find a nice chair at your house or somewhere. Sit down with a pad of paper and just think about it. Is what you are currently doing bringing anxiety and stress daily. There isn't a period after stress because we all have our days that are dripping in anxiety and stress and things like that, right? This is daily. Is this chronic? Do you wake up in the morning going, damn it? Okay. And if that is the case, why? Is it the work? Is it the people? And again, you're the only person that can answer these questions. Nobody else can answer these for you. All right. Your coworkers don't know this. And the work that comes in, again, you're getting that from clients and things like that when you're in control of that. So why is that happening? Look at what drives you. Are you driven by money? Are you driven by challenge? Are you driven by creativity or anonymity? That's right, anonymity. Autonomy. A little anonymity. And again, this is evidence-based. So you know yourself, like, yeah, I need a really good salary, for example. Well, if you start answering these questions, the answers start to present themselves. You're like, yeah, I need a really heavy salary. Well, right there, you know that you're going to be working for a government department or for a corporation where the salaries are higher. Or you're really going to have to work hard on your own to bring that money in. But there are answers there, right? No, I like creativity. I like autonomy. I don't get up till 10 in the morning, but I work at 2. Great. Okay. So that is going to affect the amount of money you bring in. And things like benefits, things like that, right? So, and these are all things that we know. You just got to be honest with yourself. And also see if you are fulfilled. I wrote a really great blog, and you can find it on the ThinkSmith website. Okay, it's called The 5 Stages of Career Grief. And what I've done is I've taken the famous 5 stages of grief and I've just adapted it to be about your career and had a little bit of fun with it. So if you've gone through those exercises and you're like, yeah, I think it's my job and where I'm at right now, then I highly recommend reading this because it's a good primer on getting into your head and thinking about why and not just complaining all the time. Okay, comfort is the enemy of progress. You know, and raw again, most of us are working from home these days, like, but the couch is right there. I was up last night watching Netflix. I just wanted a nap. You know, that would never have happened at work, right? But it's like, the couch is there. Or I just want to go away from the world. Too many emails, too many things. I'm going to go on the couch, right? So this gets in the way of progress. This gets in the way of getting things done. So recognize that fact and treat your workspace like going to work if you're working from home. Okay, but there's good news. Woo! Right? This isn't all doom and gloom and, you know, blah, blah, blah. No, it's good news. This is good news. You're still here. You're listening to me. That's awesome. All right? You obviously care and you want to fix things. Okay? You're all here. Nobody has left. You're still listening. That means you want to fix things. That means you feel like you're in a rut. You feel like, I'm in a funk, not in a James Brown funk, because that's kind of awesome. So that's great. Again, your self-aware, you know, you're like, yeah, something's not right. I got to fix it, right? So now what? Okay, so now that you've gone from self-awareness and you've gone through all those exercises and you've thought about these things, next step is you've got to interact with somebody else, okay? You got to get out of your head. You've been in your head. Now you got to get out of your head and find a sounding board. You need to find a colleague, talk to a colleague, find a mentor or a coach, join a professional association. And I'm also going to be giving you a workbook at the end of this. You're welcome. That is a synopsis of all of what we've talked about here. So these are all primers to get you moving forward. Like I said earlier on, I am still energized and passionate and love what I do for a living 30 years later. And I just want that for you. I want that. I feel so passionate about this industry that I just don't want people to feel tragically competent. This isn't the industry for that. So When the head banging, coffee drinking, blank staring, and finger tapping don't work, Think Smith can help. Okay, that's why I'm here. And to reiterate, I've seen it all. 30 years in the industry, I've owned 2 successful agencies. I've worked in-house, both corporate and government, as well as being a professor in design, marketing, and advertising for over 10 years. I've worked with people from all of these companies, either individually or in workshop scenarios. They've attended my workshops. I've worked with them individually one-on-one. So again, I'm not new to this. All right, so let's get you focused and moving forward. Think Smith offer a whole bunch of things. I offer workshops for groups. I've worked with, and that list that you saw earlier on, I've been, working with some government departments and some corporations that have gone in and done workshops with their teams. I've done workshops for individuals out at the bunker, at the Diva bunker, and had people come out for that. I've got this one-hit wonder. So if you want to sit down with me one-on-one and go over something that's really bothering you, where you need an extra set of eyes or opinion on a project that you're working on. So we've got a one-hour session with tangible takeaways and an email, a follow-up email that goes over everything that we touched on. I've got a successful 6, which is 6 one-hour sessions. And these really get into it. These are one-on-ones. There are workbooks. There's a journal and a pencil, content created specifically for you. So after our onboarding, our first meeting, I'll get to know you and I'll get to know where you're struggling and how I can fix that and how I can help you. And it's very much collaborative process. Now, most of these presentations, we've all been on them, and they're like, okay, now if you sign up now, you're going to get this free stuffed, animal, and it's got my logo on it, and there's T-shirts, and there's pins and hats, and all kinds of stuff. And if you sign up now, you get, buy one get one free and shit like that. Okay, that's not my world. I'm not that way, and I would not want to sell you on a coaching package just based on this, or if you're not sure. It's a commitment. It's something that you need to feel very confident about. When you look for a coach, you need to find somebody that you can open up to, that you feel will take you to where you want to be. So I'm not here to sell you coaching packages. I'm not here to sell you anything. What I'm saying though is sign up for a free 30 minutes to see, okay? Is this for you? Am I for real? Pretty sure I am, but we'll find out. And there's no commitment. I'm not taking credit cards. I'm not asking to sign anything. I'm not going to cry at the end of it if you don't sign up. All right. At the end of the day, when somebody signs up, I know that they feel this is completely for them and that they're ready to do the work and to move forward. So sign up at thinksmith.com. There's a calendar there that you can pick your half hour. And again, no pressure at all. You can also go, I've made a special page for this where you can get more information. You can download your free Tragically Competent guide and other information about this specific presentation that I've done here. And it's at thinksmith.com/nottragic. All right, and then you can sign up for your free 30 minutes there if you want. You can sign up for the newsletter, Knott's newsletter, and you can explore the rest of the website if you want. So at the end of the day, let's snap out of it. Love what we do. Thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. I know we're all busy, and taking 45 minutes out of your time is not easy sometimes. So I really do appreciate it. So if there are any questions, feel free to ask them. I am available now to answer any questions. Val, do we have any?
Maybe you could talk a little bit about what the 30-minute call, like what you could expect from the 30-minute call.
Sure.
Or what you would talk about.
Absolutely. So the 30-minute call is basically one-on-one, so you and I, and I'm going to ask a few questions. what are you struggling with? If there's something specific right now, do you have any examples of what that struggle is? And we can assess in that meeting whether or not this is chronic or an ongoing thing. If you're stuck in your career, if you're stuck in just a specific job, things like that. So then I'll be able to assess, okay, well, here's what I would suggest in moving forward. And if you were to join in for, it might be somebody who is looking, well, for example, I've got a client right now, a coaching client right now, who's running her own business. And so in our first session, her expectations were, I need to get pumped up. I need to get excited about this. And after speaking for a little bit, it was pretty clear she was pretty excited already. She had the passion in that. But what was sucking the joy out of it was the business side of things. She didn't know her hourly rate. She didn't know if she was making money on certain things. She didn't know how to present work to a client and get it approved. Those were the things that she was struggling with. And they were things that she wasn't 100% aware of when she first started with me in her first session, until I started walking her through, okay, so, what are the things that you don't like doing? And what are the things that you find bring anxiety in that? So that's when those things came up. It's like, I hate doing, the bookkeeping that, and I don't know if I'm making enough money. So I took her through a really quick and simple math exercise to figure out her hourly rate, so that she can then assess the work that she's been doing previously, if it was actually making money or not. And that she could then take those jobs and say, okay, well, that logo took me this many hours, multiply that by my hourly, and it should be at least, this amount. And if it's below that amount, then I'm losing money. And if it's above that amount, clearly I'm making some money. So it gave her a frame of reference, and it took a lot of the stress and anxiety out of what she's doing, and be able to go, oh, okay, this makes sense now. So she had the confidence when somebody said, how much is a logo? She could say, well, it starts at this. And then depending on what else you need, it goes up from there. And she could be confident in that number. Because a lot of clients are like, ooh, wow, that's kind of pricey. And her normal default would be, oh, okay, yeah, well, maybe I can do it for this much, right? Whereas now she's fueled with information, and she goes, well, no, I can't do it for that much, right? So this is my price, and it gave her that confidence. So it was things like that. And then how to present concepts in a meeting, take the emotion out, and to make it a very focused meeting. So it's things like that worked for her. Whereas some other people that I've worked with, it's been about passion. Like I'm working in a job that is not my passion. I don't like getting up. I don't like going to work. So, all right. So what is it? Is it the work itself? Is it the corporation? Is it the type of work? Is it, and we go through these different paths to see where the problem is and how we can fix it. And in this one person's case, she loved the people she was working with. She loved the office. But what I found out was she really is driven by not-for-profit work and charities and that, and she was working for a large corporation.
So in these last couple minutes, we do have 2 questions as well.
Okay.
So one's from Chelsea. Non-creative work seems never ending. How do you not lose too much time to it? I can spend a full week on non-creative tasks and barely make a dent.
Yeah, absolutely. So it sounds like you're an entrepreneur, and I've been there, right? So what happens is you do all of your admin work and talking to clients and all of that left brain stuff during the day. And then suddenly it's 10 o'clock at night, you're like, damn, I've got to actually create something now. And then you're up to 1 in the morning. And that's unfortunate because our clients are all around during the day. So we do have to get that stuff done. So you need to look at your business model and look at, like if you're a freelancer, for example, or look at what you're charging per hour and see if you can add in a virtual assistant that can run your emails and your calendar, factor that cost per month into your operating costs, and delegate. So at the end of the day, your clients are not hiring you for your ability to do administrative work. They're not hiring you for your ability to answer emails. They're hiring you to give them product, creative product. So keep that in mind. Remind yourself that. Put that on a post-it note, put it on your computer. My clients are hiring me to, write or to design or to whatever. And remind yourself of that. And you're going to need to take those admin tasks, and you're going to need to delegate them in order to move forward, to scale your business, to build your business, and to spend more time on what your clients are hiring you for. You're going to have more capacity. You're going to be able to charge more, and your work is going to be better.
Awesome. We have one more question from Sabrina. Do you have advice per this session for ruts or down periods that emerge from circumstances out of your control, like grief and personal loss, and how to keep yourself inside of the engagement zone while working during those times?
Yes. Again, I recently lost my father, so I know exactly what you're speaking about. What you need to do, and we talked about this earlier on, once you've done your self-awareness, the next stage is to open up to an audience. So join a professional organization, find a mentor, find colleagues, things like that. So what you're really going to want to do is to tap into people that you know in the industry that you can give the work to, bring them in as freelancers, things like that. And then you need to dial yourself back to the position of a manager, okay, for a short period of time. And I would suggest that you actually calendar that in and say, okay, I really need a couple of weeks just to get my head together. So for those 2 weeks, put it on the calendar and delegate everything that you can and just manage the projects. Don't actually do them because your head is not there, and you're right. And life happens. These things, and we're not talking things that, you suddenly see, or, I got doctor's appointments or things like that. These are things that pop up, and you will need a couple of weeks. So I would be proactive with that and have things in place, people that you continue to speak with or whatever, that you can quickly call in. Also open up a dialogue with your clients. So when this event happens, reach out to your clients first. Radio silence is the worst possible thing that you can do. Clients are going to be really responsive and appreciate your honesty. So they should be aside from your family and things like that, they should be your first contact when something happens. Right? Okay, I need some time off. So again, like I said earlier on in this, give choice, give options. So contact your client saying, look, I've had a loss in the family. I really need a couple of weeks to get my head together. I can bring somebody else in. I've got some great people that can do this. I will still be looking in. I'm just not going to be actually doing the work. Or if you're willing to give me a couple of weeks, can we reconvene in that time? And then let them choose and see where they sit.
Awesome. Thank you. So thank you for joining, everybody.
Yeah, this has been really great. And again, this is a passion thing for me. I want to make sure that everybody has, equal to or at least enjoy what they do. So feel free to reach out at any time. You can reach me through the website, ThinkSmith website. And keep an eye on blog posts. There's going to be more coming out, and I'm going to have more events as well. So once again, thanks so much, everyone, for coming out, and hope to talk to you soon. Have a great afternoon.